The Vraxian ambassador's crystalline form shimmered with what could only be described as contempt. Its voice resonated through the translation matrix, filling the sterile conference chamber with frequencies that made Lewis's teeth ache. Humanity, it proclaimed to the assembled Galactic Council, remains a curiosity. A species that crawls through space on chemical rockets, clinging to the third dimension like primitive organisms to ocean floors. Orla sat perfectly still beside Lewis, her fingers drumming an imperceptible rhythm on the armrest of their delegation chair. He recognized that tell. She was calculating, analyzing, waiting for the precise moment to strike. The council chamber represented 247 species from across known space. Some breathed methane, others lived in containment fields of pure energy. The Korath delegation floated in specialized tanks, their tentacled bodies undulating with bioluminescent laughter at humanity's expense. This was the third session where Earth's application for full membership had been rejected, and the mockery had grown bolder each time. They claimed to have made breakthroughs, continued the Vraxian, its multifaceted eyes refracting the chamber's light into rainbow cascades. Yet they cannot even manipulate the fourth spatial dimension. They are infants playing with fusion cores, dangerous to themselves and potentially to us all. The Korath Prime Speaker released a burst of chemicals that the translators rendered as derisive laughter. We have observed their conflicts, their wars. They fight over resources they could synthesize. They damage their own biosphere. Why should we grant membership to a species that cannot even protect its homeworld? Lewis felt his jaw tighten, but Orla placed a hand on his arm. Not yet, the gesture said. Let them finish digging their own grave. The matter is settled, the Vraxian declared. Humanity's petition is denied. Return to your solar system and evolve for another 1,000 years. Perhaps then you will be ready to join civilized space. The translation of their laughter, mechanical, chemical, crystalline harmonics, filled the chamber like a symphony of condescension. Orla stood. The movement was simple, elegant, but something in her posture made the nearest delegates fall silent. The quiet spread like a wave through the chamber. You've had your say, she began, her voice calm and clear. Now hear ours. You mock our chemical rockets, yet we cross the void between stars with them. You laugh at our confinement to 3 dimensions, yet we've survived and thrived in a universe that has tried repeatedly to kill us. Empty words, the Vraxian interrupted. You cannot even... We brought something to show you, Lewis cut in, rising to stand beside Orla. He tapped the interface on his wrist. A demonstration of human ingenuity. The chamber's central holographic display activated, showing Earth's moon, specifically, the far side that faced away from their homeworld. The delegates leaned forward, their various sensory organs focusing on the image. There, carved into the lunar surface in letters 300 kilometers high, was a simple message in the galactic trade script. We were here first. Confused murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Korath Prime Speaker's tank bubbled with agitation. A crude display of vandalism proves nothing. Look at the dating, Orla said softly. The hologram zoomed in, showing the spectroscopic and geological analysis. The carving was ancient, not hundreds of years old, not thousands. The erosion patterns, the cosmic ray exposure, the micrometeorite impacts, all pointed to a single impossible conclusion. 300 million years old. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted in frequencies across the electromagnetic spectrum. The Vraxian's crystalline form darkened with what might have been shock or anger. Impossible, it declared. Humanity only achieved spaceflight 70 years ago. This humanity did, Lewis agreed. But we're not the first iteration, are we? Orla continued, her voice cutting through the pandemonium with surgical precision. 300 million years ago, another human civilization rose. They didn't just master the 4th dimension, they conquered the 8th. They folded reality like origami, existing in spaces your species can't even theorize about. Where are they now? Demanded the Korath Prime Speaker. Why have we never encountered them? They ascended, Lewis said simply, left this dimensional framework entirely. But they left us gifts, knowledge locked in our genetic code waiting to be unlocked. They seeded our world with the tools we'd need to rebuild, to reclaim what was once ours. Lies, hissed the Vraxian. Prove these outrageous claims. Orla smiled. It wasn't a kind expression. Oh, we intend to. She nodded to Lewis, who activated the second phase of their presentation. The chamber's exterior viewports suddenly cleared, overriding the privacy protocols. Outside space was wrung, reality bent inward, folding along axes that shouldn't exist. The blackness of space peeled away like paper, revealing depths of color and dimension that made several delegates cry out in pain or confusion. Their sensory organs weren't equipped to process what they were seeing. From that impossible aperture, a ship emerged. It wasn't built. It couldn't have been built, not by any conventional understanding of construction. The vessel existed in 8 dimensions simultaneously, its form incomprehensible to beings locked in 3 or 4 spatial dimensions. What the delegates could perceive was merely a shadow, a projection of something infinitely more complex. The ship was massive beyond scale, yet somehow intimate in its presence. Its hull, if it could be called that, seemed to be made of crystallized space-time itself, threaded through with patterns of energy that rewrote the laws of physics in their immediate vicinity. The ISS Prometheus, Orla announced, humanity's first 8th-dimensional vessel. It's been parked in higher dimensional space around this station for the last 6 hours. You never noticed because your sensors can't detect anything beyond the 5th dimension. The Vraxian's crystalline form had gone completely transparent with shock. How is this possible? Because, Lewis said, allowing pride to creep into his voice, we remembered. The genetic keys our ancestors left us finally unlocked. 3 years ago, in a laboratory in Geneva, a human scientist accessed memories 300 million years old. We've been rebuilding ever since. The Prometheus shifted in space, and the movement created ripples in reality itself. Delegates who had been laughing moments ago now pressed themselves against the far walls of their enclosures. Humanity withdraws its petition for membership, Orla declared formally. We don't need your approval. We never did. But we'll remember who laughed at us, who called us primitives, who mocked our struggles. She turned to leave, Lewis falling into step beside her. At the chamber's exit, she paused and looked back. Oh, and one more thing, that ship? It's the oldest, slowest vessel we've built. A museum piece, really. We're already testing 12th dimensional drives. By the time you evolve enough to comprehend the 8th dimension, we'll be operating in spaces that haven't even been conceptualized yet. The doors closed behind them, leaving the Galactic Council in stunned silence. On the Prometheus, as it prepared to fold back into higher dimensional space, Orla and Lewis stood on the observation deck, watching the station recede. Think they'll try to retaliate? Lewis asked. Orla shook her head. They're too busy recalculating everything they thought they knew about reality. Besides, half of them are probably terrified we'll do to them what they intended to do to us, treat them as primitives. Will we? She considered the question seriously. No, we'll be better than that. But we'll never forget this day. The day humanity stopped asking for permission and started taking what was rightfully ours. The ship folded into higher dimensional space, leaving behind only a whisper of displaced reality and a galaxy that would never underestimate humanity again. The age of human ascendancy had begun,